This is the Sleep Historian. Each night we explore the echoes of the past, stories told slowly to calm the mind and ease you towards sleep. If you enjoy these quiet journeys through time, please like and subscribe, and let the next story begin. Dawn spread slowly across a line of distant hills, revealing a landscape shaped by wind and wide horizons. The light has a quiet patience to it, sliding over ridges, touching dry grasses, settling into shallow valleys. Long before the idea of a wall, this frontier was a meeting place. Merchants following caravan trails, herders moving with the seasons, soldiers watching for riders who might appear suddenly on the edge of sight. You stand on a ridge as the sun lifts higher. Nothing breaks the silence except wind brushing against your coat. Here, history begins as open space. As the day brightens, faint paths reveal themselves, narrow, pale threads etched by centuries of movement. Travelers cross in both directions, some carrying silks and grain, others driving flocks across uneven ground. In distant states to the south, rulers debate how to protect what they have built. No single decision creates the Great Wall. Instead, early ramparts rise in scattered places, built by different hands for different reasons. Over time, rulers imagine something more connected. You watch sunlight drift across empty hills and feel the first hint of that idea taking shape. A boundary, slowly conceived. Step back into the 3rd century BCE. The morning begins with dust rising from workers' feet as they climb a slope carrying baskets of soil. Their clothing is simple, sleeves rolled tight for labor. Overseers call out distances while drums mark a steady rhythm. Under Qin Shi Huang, scattered frontier walls are being joined into longer lines. The people here know only their portion, the trench they dig, the soil they carry, the tamping they must repeat until evening. Above them, the sky feels wide and impersonal, watching quietly as the first long stretches begin to rise. Move closer to the construction line. Wooden frames stand upright, ready to be filled with earth. Teams shovel loose soil inside, layering it carefully. Heavy rammers fall in patterned strikes, compressing the mix into dense, pale blocks. Each impact sends a soft tremor into the ground. Sweat darkens the workers' backs, dust clings to their hair, and the rhythm continues without conversation. A young man pauses to adjust a strip of cloth around his palm, then resumes tamping. The progress seems slow, but by the end of the day, the embankment is taller than a man. The environment shapes the work. Wind lifts fine grit into the air, making eyes narrow and breaths shallow. Laborers sip from clay flasks to cool their throats. A thin trail of ants winds along the trench edge, undisturbed by the clamor of building. To the north, the land stretches outward in long waves of grassland. From here, threats might arrive unseen until close. Soldiers posted nearby keep watch, bows unstrung but ready. Their presence reminds the workers why the wall is rising. Each tamped layer is meant to turn open danger into a managed distance. Centuries drift forward. You stand now in a Han-era mountain pass. Earlier Qin walls remain in fragments, worn, cracked, faded to the color of dry earth. Han engineers reinforce strategic points, building new beacon towers on the heights. From a narrow cliffside path, You look down at a pale ribbon tracing the ridgeline. Clouds cling to the higher peaks, wrapping stone and earth in shifting veils. In a small command tent, an officer smooths a bamboo report with careful fingers, examining news of Xiongnu raids. Strategy here is written in lines of ink and lines of earth. Inside a hand watchtower, everything is practical. A brazier warms a corner. Baskets of dry reeds sit beside sealed jars of oil, ready for signaling. Narrow windows frame slices of distant land. A soldier checks each firebrand, tapping the ends lightly to ensure they are dry enough to ignite quickly. Communication is the tower's main purpose, a chain of smoke and flame that can ripple across hundreds of li. A single curl of white smoke in the right pattern could alert garrisons half a day's ride away. Speed here comes from height, not from horses. Step outside into brisk air. The wind carries the scent of pine from the nearby slopes and the faint tang of cold stone. A patrol moves along the wall, boots scuffing against packed earth. One soldier pauses to tighten the wrap around his wrist, stiff from the morning chill. From the parapet, the view is immense. Hills fold into one another, their shapes softened by distance. The wall does not block every route. It channels movement, slows advance, buys time. Its strength lies not in being unbroken, but in how it ties scattered posts into a coordinated line. Below the tower, the garrison courtyard stirs with daily routines. A cook ladles millet porridge into bowls, steam rising gently. A boy sweeps dust from the doorway, guiding it carefully into a pile he will carry outside later. Veterans mend saddle straps, their hands steady even when the leather resists. Some speak of home, others speak of last year's skirmishes. Here, life is not shaped by grand campaigns, but by the smaller rhythms of maintenance, training, letters received or delayed. The wall may represent the state, but the courtyard reflects the people who hold it. Night falls over the mountains, erasing details until only shapes remain. Torches glow along the battlements, each one flickering in the steady wind. The watch changes quietly, a murmured greeting, a shared cup of warm broth, a brief stretch to loosen tired legs. In the tower, a guard leans against a wooden brace, eyes adjusting to the darkness beyond. No riders appear tonight. No smoke signals rise. The wall sits in quiet equilibrium. Not peace, not conflict, just a long, steady breath held between them. Its presence shapes the night as much as the stars overhead. Time moves onward into the Ming Dynasty. Beijing becomes the capital, and the northern frontier takes on renewed urgency. Earlier walls, weathered and broken in places, are surveyed with fresh eyes. Ming rulers plan reinforcements on a scale not seen before. Brick, stone, watchtowers, battlements. You stand at the edge of a bustling construction site. Kilns glow red-orange, firing bricks day and night. Workers in rough cotton clothing carry stones on wooden litters, coordinating their steps so the load stays balanced. The air smells of lime, earth, and the smoke of late afternoon fires. On the wall itself, masons work with measured precision. Bricks are tapped into place with wooden mallets, aligning them along straight courses. Mortar is mixed in wide basins, pale and grainy. A foreman runs a thumb along a seam, testing the texture, then nods silently for the team to continue. Each brick bears small stamped characters, identifying its workshop of origin. These marks ensure accountability. If a section collapses, officials will know exactly whose hands shaped it. Efficiency and responsibility fuse in each layer rising under the sun. Run your fingers lightly along freshly set bricks. They hold the warmth of the day, their surfaces slightly rough from sand in the mixture. Engineers consult scrolls showing tower spacing, drainage channels, and parapet heights. Water is carefully directed through stone gutters to prevent hidden erosion. This is not hurried frontier work. It is a system, a vast, connected barrier designed to strengthen vulnerable points while guiding movement through controlled gates. Even the curves of the wall are deliberate, following contours that allow defenders to see approaching threats more clearly. At a major pass, traders gather near the gatehouse. Mules snort softly, stamping the ground as their handlers adjust saddlebags. From the northern side come bundles of furs and horses. From the interior, crates of tea, salt, and silk. Guards examine travel documents, their fingers smudged faintly with ink from handling so many papers. A clerk warms his hands over a brazier before recording weights and fees in a ledger. The wall divides regions, but here it also connects them, channeling exchange through narrow, supervised corridors where cultures meet in cautious balance. Further west, terrain changes drastically. Dry winds carry the scent of dust. The wall becomes more austere, built from earth and stone rather than uniform brick. A camel caravan moves slowly along a parallel path, bells chiming softly with each step. From a nearby tower, a sentry watches the horizon, where a faint trail of riders stirs a thin plume of dust. He does not yet know if they are merchants or scouts. His hand rests lightly on the shaft of his spear, not tense but attentive. The frontier has many faces, some familiar, some uncertain. Inside a Ming command post, maps cover a long wooden table. Rivers, ridges, supply lines, and beacon paths form an intricate network of ink strokes. Officers discuss where reinforcements are needed and which sections can hold with minimal troops. A scribe records each decision in neat characters. On a bench nearby, armor rests in orderly rows. Helmets with flared rims, lamellar plates bound with leather cords. A shaft of light from a narrow window glints on polished metal. Strategy and equipment sit side by side, each essential to the wall's functioning. Travel east into the coastal mountains, where General Qi Ji Guang trains troops with strict discipline. Here, the wall rises steeply up ridges, its steps uneven and challenging. From a high watchtower, you can see the sea shimmering as the tide shifts. Soldiers below practice synchronized movements, poles striking wood targets with rhythmic thuds. Qi walks among them, correcting posture with gentle touches on shoulders or elbows. His reforms have turned local militias into skilled defenders, blending discipline with careful understanding of the terrain. This stretch of wall feels alert, purposeful, alive. As sunset nears, the mountains glow warm gold. The wall casts long shadows across the slopes. A breeze carries the resin scent of pine and the faint smell of cooking fires from villages tucked into sheltered valleys. From where you stand on a newly finished tower, the wall appears endless, snaking over peaks, dipping into valleys, climbing again. Its stones look timeless in this light, though each was lifted by hands that tired and hope that wavered. The quiet reinforces a simple truth. Vast achievements are built from uncounted, ordinary moments. Now shift your focus to the people who live under the wall's protection. At the foot of one section, a small village wakes with the sun. Roosters call. Smoke rises gently from clay chimneys. Children chase each other between narrow alleys, giggling as they dart past drying herbs hung from doorways. A farmer steps into his courtyard and glances at the wall above, as familiar to him as the rolling hills. For him, the wall is neither monument nor museum piece. It's part of the surroundings, a constant presence woven into daily life. Up in a guard tower, dawn light filters through narrow windows. Soldiers fold their sleeping mats, tying them neatly with cloth cords. A kettle simmers on a small stove, its lid rattling softly as steam escapes. One soldier checks his spear, running his thumb along the smooth shaft to ensure there are no splinters. Another straightens a stack of arrows, adjusting feathers that bent during the night. Their movements are unhurried, skilled by repetition. Outside, frost clings to the stones, sparkling faintly as the sun climbs. The day's watch begins with simple routines. Later, training echoes through a courtyard. Soldiers practice formations described in Qi Jiguang's manuals, moving in coordinated lines, poles striking wooden dummies with measured force. The rhythm builds, then quiets, then builds again. An officer observes with arms folded, occasionally stepping forward to correct a stance or reposition a foot. The men respond with respectful nods. From the tower above, the wall seems to watch these drills with stony patience. Though the immediate frontier may be calm, discipline keeps the edge sharp for days when warning smoke might rise. Inside the tower's storage room, supplies line the walls. Coils of rope, stacks of spare tiles, jars of preserved vegetables. A set of armor hangs on a wooden peg, lacquer chipped from years of service. Beside it, a small wooden box holds personal belongings, a folded letter, a comb, a bit of cloth embroidered by someone far away. A soldier picks up the letter briefly, smoothing its edges with a thumb. He reads a few lines silently before tucking it back into place. Even on a wall of stone, lives contain their own softness. Walk the ramparts around midday. The stones beneath your feet are warm from the sun. A young soldier leans against the parapet, chewing a strip of dried meat as he studies the landscape inside the frontier. Fields, orchards, distant villages. He turns as an older sergeant approaches, handing over a small scroll containing the day's patrol instructions. The younger man nods, tucks it into his sash. Beneath the vastness of the wall, their exchange is simple, almost gentle. Two people maintaining structure through everyday cooperation. Travel along a more remote section where garrisons are sparse. A messenger rides beside you, his horse's hooves thudding against packed earth. Between towers, the wall grows rougher, edges softened by time. Vegetation pushes through cracks in the masonry. At a lonely watchtower, a single guard emerges to receive the messenger's packet. His face is weathered, eyes narrowing in the sunlight. He signs a receipt on a bamboo slip and retreats inside. Here, news travels slowly. One courier, one tower at a time. Isolation shapes the rhythm. Inside a command building near a key pass, a group of officers review maps. Mountains, rivers, wells, villages, all marked with careful brushstrokes. One officer uses a thin brush to update the position of a patrol route, tongue pressed lightly to the corner of his mouth as he concentrates. On another table, tea cools in shallow cups. A junior aide copies reports into a clean ledger, each character neat and measured. Strategy unfolds quietly, without urgency, built from steady attention to detail. The wall outside stands as the silent beneficiary of these decisions. Evening returns with a soft light. Farmers lead livestock back from hillside grazing. Smoke from cooking fires blends with the cooling air, carrying faint scents of millet and herbs. On the wall, the last patrol of the day walks slowly along the parapet. One soldier pauses to adjust a loose stone with his boot, nudging it firmly back into place. Another stops to watch the sun dip behind distant peaks. Breath becomes visible in the cooling air. Above them, the wall shifts into shadow, its presence unchanged, yet transformed by night. Night deepens in the early 17th century. You stand once more near a Ming watchtower, but the mood has shifted. The dynasty is aging. Internal corruption and peasant uprisings strain resources. Salaries for frontier troops arrive late. Armor needs repairs that cannot be afforded. Still, the watch remains. A lantern burns in the tower doorway, casting a narrow band of warm light across worn bricks. The guard on duty pulls his cloak tighter, sensing the weight of an era in decline, even if he cannot name it. Routines continue while stability quietly thins. Inside the tower, a ledger lies open. Grain rations, arrow counts, wall repairs, all listed in neat columns. Recent entries show shortages. The lines grow shorter, the numbers smaller. A junior officer dips his brush into ink, hesitating before writing a reduced figure for supplies. He glances at the men resting nearby, their breathing steady in sleep. A draft stirs the edge of the ledger. The wall is intact, but the system supporting it is fraying. These weaknesses do not appear in battle reports, only in careful handwriting. Walk along a section where bricks have shifted. Mortar crumbles under your fingers. A mason examines a cracked crenel, tapping it lightly with the handle of his trowel. He sighs and marks it for repair with a smear of white lime. Temporary supports brace a leaning battlement. None of this is catastrophic, but the accumulation matters. The wall depends on constant maintenance, and maintenance depends on resources the state is struggling to provide. From the tower above, the world looks unchanged, but the stones tell a quieter story of strain. At a frontier market near a controlled gate, step riders dismount beside stalls. They offer hides, horses, and meat. Traders from the interior display tea bricks, grain, and cloth. Interaction is careful, but not hostile. Hands gesture through interpreters. Guards watch from a distance, weapons sheathed. The wall dictates where such exchanges occur, funneling them into narrow spaces. Trust and tension mingle easily here, neither fully dominant. Everyone feels the uncertainty of shifting alliances and rising powers beyond the horizon. Farther east at Shanghai Pass, the wall meets the sea. Waves roll in steady, rhythmic lines, polishing rocks below the ramparts. From the gate tower, You can see inland roads stretching toward Beijing and the open water swelling at your side. This pass has long been seen as essential, a hinge between heartland and frontier. Garrison troops here speak proudly of their assignment. Yet rumors travel with the supply wagons. Rebel armies gaining ground, rival commanders rising, the court divided. The calm sea contrasts with the uneasy mood inland. In Beijing, decisions ripple outward. You drift through a dim hall where officials debate urgently. Should troops be sent to the frontier or kept near the capital? Which threats deserve limited resources? Memorials pile up on desks, each written in careful, respectful language, but carrying warnings beneath the surface. One advisor presses his fingers to his temples, exhausted. None of these men can see the wall from here, yet their choices shape its fate. A single delayed shipment or misjudged strategy can weaken distant garrisons without anyone meaning to. Back on the ramparts, soldiers perform routines unchanged by distant politics. A cook ladles thin soup into wooden bowls. A young guard adjusts the strap of his helmet, fingers numb from cold. A pair of soldiers laugh at a small joke, the sound brief before the wind erases it. Their world is immediate. Weather, hunger, shifts, repairs. The complexities of the capital feel remote, like faint echoes carried on the wind. To them, the wall is simply where they live and work. Yet subtle signs whisper of change. A patrol reports seeing more scouts beyond the frontier. Silhouettes that disappear quickly. A shipment of arrows arrives late, the crates lighter than promised. Beacon supplies fall below regulation amounts. Officers record these details in reports sealed with wax. One commander presses his seal firmly, watching the wax harden. He cannot know how quickly the situation will change, only that the wall feels slightly more vulnerable than it once did. The night settles around him, indifferent to what comes next. Now enter the early 1640s. Morning mist clings to Shanghai Pass, softening stone and sea. Fishing boats drift near the shore, their sails barely stirring. Inside the fortress, soldiers perform morning checks with familiar precision. Frost lingers along the battlements, making each step deliberate. The pass feels calm, as it has many times before. Yet news travels quickly now. Rebels pressing toward Beijing, court defenses faltering. The wall stands solid, but pressures from within and without begin to converge toward this narrow place. Inside a command room above the gate, General Wu Sangui studies maps and letters. Reports from Beijing describe turmoil, Li Zicheng's rebel forces entering the capital, uncertainty about the emperor's fate. From the north, the Manchus wait, unified and watching. Wu's eyes move across the map, then to a sealed letter bearing urgent recommendations. His fingers rest on the scroll for a long moment. The wall outside offers clarity, a simple line of defense. But the decision forming in his mind is anything but simple. On the ramparts, soldiers sense only fragments of this tension. They test bowstrings, inspect gate mechanisms, and scan the open land beyond the wall. The pass looks strong, thick stone, high towers, the sea guarding one flank. A veteran pats the wooden gate beam, murmuring that it has never failed. What he cannot imagine is the gate opening by choice. To him, walls stand or fall in battle, not in negotiation. His certainty is earnest, built from years of service. He does not yet know how quickly certainties can shift. Meanwhile, in Beijing, the crisis reaches its peak. You drift through corridors where officials once moved in slow ceremony. Now footsteps race. Documents lie abandoned on desks. The Ming Emperor's authority collapses under combined pressures: famine, rebellion, internal division. The Great Wall is far from here, invisible behind mountains and distance, yet its fate is tied to these rooms. A state losing its center struggles to support its edges. Decisions that once took weeks now happen in moments, and some never happen at all. Return to Shanghai Pass as messengers bring word of the capital's fall. Conflicting information spreads. Rebels in control, the emperor dead, the dynasty's legitimacy in question. The Manchus offer aid, troops to defeat the rebels, authority to restore order if the gate is opened. Wu faces a choice shaped by loyalty, survival, and political calculation. He looks from the urgent letters on the table to the massive beams barring the gate. His decision will not only determine who enters today, but who rules tomorrow. The turning point arrives quietly. Orders travel through the courtyard with measured calm. Soldiers lift chains, pull heavy beams aside. The sound of wood grinding against stone echoes down the tunnel. Outside, Manchu banners hang motionless in the still air. When the gates swing open, hooves strike the earth in a steady rhythm as mounted troops move through. The Great Wall, long a symbol of separation, becomes a corridor for transition, not broken by force, but repurposed by choice. History shifts on hinges and stone. From the ramparts, you watch the column advance inland, dust lifting behind it like a pale veil. Soldiers who spent years guarding this pass stand silently as another army moves through their gate. Some feel relief, an ally to restore order. Others feel unease, a new power entering the heartland. The wall remains unchanged in form, but its meaning alters in an instant. It continues to rise across the hills, but now as witness rather than barrier. A single decision has rewritten the role it played for centuries. In the years that follow, the Qing dynasty consolidates control. The wall continues to stand, but its strategic role diminishes. Some stretches remain garrisoned, others fall into disuse. Grass grows between bricks. Towers collapse in storms. Travelers pass through gates once fiercely guarded, unaware of the dramas these stones once framed. The Great Wall did not fail, nor triumph absolutely. It adapted to shifting realities, its purpose shaped by the people who governed it. Its story becomes less about defense and more about endurance. Now let centuries flow more quickly. You drift along the wall as it weathers dynastic change, war, drought, revolution. In some eras, locals remove bricks to build homes or terraces. In others, the wall becomes a symbol of persistence, visited by poets and scholars who describe its length with awe. Shepherds guide flocks along sheltered paths, resting in crumbling towers. Time softens edges, but the structure remains. Not as one continuous line, but as many segments carrying the weight of layered history. In the 20th century, airplanes and artillery change warfare. Walls lose military significance, yet the Great Wall endures as a cultural landmark. Near rural villages, Farmers plant crops at its base, pausing to watch occasional visitors from distant cities. A group of travelers walks along the ramparts, cameras clicking softly. A farmer leans on his hoe, observing them with mild curiosity. To him, the wall is part of the land. To them, it is a glimpse into a world far older than anything they know. Conservation efforts begin. Teams of archaeologists and stonemasons survey damaged sections with notebooks and measuring tools. They discuss which areas need reinforcement, which should remain untouched to preserve authenticity. A researcher runs her hand over weathered stone, tracing grooves carved by centuries of wind. Plans form to stabilize key towers, restore stairways, and protect the wall from erosion. Each decision balances preservation with respect for the past. The wall becomes a shared responsibility, a historical patient cared for by many hands. At restored sites near Beijing, visitors climb steep staircases rebuilt to safe standards. Voices murmur in many languages. A child reaches out to touch the wall, tracing mortar lines with small fingers. Some tourists pause often, taking photos. Others sit on stone steps to catch their breath, gazing across rolling hills in quiet amazement. Restoration has given this section a renewed solidity. It stands not only as ancient defense, but as a way for people to step into history with their own feet. Farther away in remote hills, untouched stretches remain. You walk alone along uneven stones, careful with each step. Grass pushes through cracks, and the wall dips unexpectedly where erosion has taken its toll. A fallen tower lies partly swallowed by the earth, its edges softened. The landscape here feels closer to how soldiers once knew it. Vast, raw, solitary. You sit on a sun-warmed stone, the silence deep except for wind moving through tall grass. The wall feels almost like part of the mountain itself. Stories about the wall spread widely. Some are true, others simplified into convenient myths. People say it is visible from space with the naked eye, a line catchy enough to persist despite correction. Writers describe it as a symbol of perseverance, unity, or suffering, depending on their focus. The wall absorbs these interpretations without judgment. It has been many things over time: boundary, beacon line, trade funnel, checkpoint, stage for diplomacy, witness to political change. No single metaphor fits its entire history. In classrooms, students trace its route on maps, from the Bohai Sea, across mountains, deserts, and plateaus, toward distant western passes. Teachers explain that the Great Wall is not one wall, but many, built in different periods for different purposes. Students imagine carrying earth in baskets, tamping layers, watching for smoke signals from distant towers. Some picture quiet nights on the frontier. Others imagine bustling gate markets. The wall becomes a bridge connecting past and present minds. As evening settles over the modern landscape, you stand once more on a high section overlooking rolling hills. The sun sinks behind distant ridges, turning brick and stone into deep shades of amber and gray. Visitors drift away, leaving the wall quiet. A breeze slips through the crenellations, carrying the scent of dry grass. You place your hand on the cool stone. It has endured through countless stories, some recorded, many forgotten. The wall no longer guards a frontier. It guards memory, stretching calmly across the land as light fades. Let your thoughts drift gently along this long chain of stone and earth. Recall the tamped walls of Qin, the beacon fires of Han, the brickwork of Ming, the soldiers tending morning kettles, the traders passing through gates, the decision at Shanghai Pass, the centuries of weather and quiet footsteps. Each era adds a layer, like sediment settling along a riverbed. The Great Wall becomes not one structure, but a conversation between land and people across time. A slow, patient record of fear, hope, change, and perseverance. Now come back to the room around you. The walls here are close and familiar. The air is warm, steady, and safe. Outside, night moves softly, without urgency. The Great Wall recedes into the distance of your thoughts, joining the quiet landscape of memory. There are no gates to guard, no distant horizons to watch. Only the gentle rhythm of your breathing, easing like footsteps after a long climb. Let the weight of history drift away. The night belongs to you now, calm and unbroken.